And I get why they made it. Like, they have the engine. They have the Spyder. Like, we found out these things fit. As long as we just make the roof a little bit smaller. Yeah. So do it and print the money.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record. We use Off the Record, and I know you guys do too, because you always tell me about it when they make your tickets go away. Off the Record is a service that connects you with a qualified attorney if, in the event, you get a moving violation, big or small. Off the Record will set you up with an attorney in the jurisdiction where you got that ticket. They will go to court on your behalf. They'll speak to the prosecutor. They will deal with it and get those points off of your record. Just go to offtherecord.com/TST or download the Off the Record app. Use code TSTPOD. That'll get you 10% off all legal services at Off the Record. Don't forget, guys, don't plead guilty. If you get pulled over, if you get a ticket, get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. All right, folks, on today's show, we talk about the all-new Hoosier DOT legal tire, which Zach had a go in out at the Thermal Club. He also gives us his review of his first time driving the new Porsche Spyder RS. We drove the Acura ZDX and a base version of the new Range Rover. I am very excited because Some More News has done an hour and 5-minute deep dive on the Cybertruck, and we've got some great questions to go over from our folks at the Patreon. So let's get to it. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. All righty then. Welcome to the program. It's going to be a little late, or I don't know, maybe Zach will still get it up today, or maybe not.
Probably not.
I don't know. Probably not. It's okay. This shit's free, son.
I got to get that triple edit for
that what?
Long.
Oh, the video?
Spyder.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We could make a little extra money if the video was up by a certain day. So we're going to put that up on Monday, and you will see my comparison test of a stock 718 Spyder, my demand Spyder, and a Spyder RS. But you had some seat time in the Spyder RS, which was your first seat time, right? Wasn't Friday the first time you drove Spyder RS? You never drove it? Yeah.
That definitely was the first time.
So what did you think?
It's a weird car, I think. It feels like a track car, right? Like, it's very stiff and it's very loud and it's very raw and all those things.
But it's not as stiff or as loud as a GT4 RS, which is the track car.
Well, that's louder because the sound is better captured in the cabin. Are the spring rates different between the two cars?
Spyder's softer.
It's the
still Spyder RS is halfway between my car and the GT4 RS.
I think it reminds me of like the Corvette ZR1 convertible. Yeah. Or, like those things where look, I get it. They have the hardware, they have the technology.
Yeah.
Why not take the roof off?
Reassemble the parts in this way.
And for people, it's like the Gunther thing, like the Gunther Speedster. It's not as usable of a car, but it is more exciting. So for me, it is not the perfect Spyder. It's not the one I'd want. I'd want yours, or I would want a regular one, I think, that's more usable all the time. And if I wanted a full, like a track one, I would go GT4 RS with roof. That's the thing. Like, I look at the hoops on the car and I go, I don't think many or any people are going to take this to the track.
No.
But it has.
But you could.
You could.
I mean, Performance Car of the Year, we had 12 journalists fucking ripping that thing on a track all day.
Of course,
and it is perfectly at home on a track.
Because it has a lot of track hardware.
Yeah, like, it's a great time on the track.
Double wishbones and it's fast and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, I'd rather have a fixed roof. Therefore, if I don't need a track car, I don't want it to feel like a track car.
Yeah.
So I would go to something like yours, where it's built motor, softer suspension. I get plenty of the acceleration. And your car has all the motorsport theater of the RS. They're equal in that way, but I think it has a better ride, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, it's impressive, and the engineering's impressive, obviously.
It's a neat car.
Yeah.
But it's the perfect, like, sixth car for somebody.
Yes, I agree. And I get why they made it. Like, they have the engine, they have the Spyder. Like, oh shit, we found out these things fit. As long as we just make the roof a little bit smaller. Yeah. So do it and print the money. Yeah. But it's not the one I would want to buy.
It's not the one I want either. But that isn't the point of the video. The point of the video that we will have on Monday is really to show the 3 different distinct characters of those 3 cars. It's not necessarily to say this one is the best. Depending on who you are and what you want, these are 3 really neat cars that that can fit a different niche within a niche. Mm-hmm. That video will be up on Monday. You also went to to try a new tire. This is where people will turn off the podcast when we talk about tires.
But they shouldn't.
But they shouldn't, because Hoosier has finally come out with a street tire.
After 67 years in business, I think I have it written down. I'm trying to pull it up. 65 years of making racing tires. They finally made a street tire. So this is, they call it the Track Attack or Track Attack Pro, I think. Basically, it's competing with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R and the Yokohama.
I like how it's like, well, we've come up with a street tire, but it's the most hardcore street tire possible. It's not like we've come up with a regular tire for sports cars. It's like a track day tire for when they need a DOT legal tire for the endurance races.
I think there's reasons for that. So Continental bought Hoosier in 2016. So Continental makes a lot of performance all-day tires, right? They probably don't want to compete with themselves. And
if you own the company, are you competing with yourself?
I guess not, but I think they see it as their racing division,
Right, but I might want a Hoosier sports tire to say I have a Hoosier sports tire rather than a Conti.
Oh, just to have the name on it.
Yeah, like Hoosier could be the Cadillac to Continental's Chevy, or whatever, right? It could be the sporting brand.
Sorry, Gmail signed out for some reason. That is true. I guess maybe that is in their future, and they'll have more. Let's call them lesser tires or more daily driver tires. But this is going after time attack people. Yeah, 200. It's a 200 treadwear tire, and it's going after everybody who wants to drive the tire to the track and then run a track day and then probably drive home again. Mm-hmm. It's stickier than a PS4S. It's above all that stuff. So. Super fun event. They had it at Thermal. Thermal has a partnership with Continental, so just so that everybody's aware of that. But what I was I've never been to a tire event. I don't know if you have, but
I have at Thermal. Was
it also a bunch of modules, testing competitors, all this stuff?
Yeah,
it's a pretty rad thing.
It's funny because it's a really fun thing to do, but the nobody's interested in the stories.
Hopefully for me the stories were more about the driving we got to do than the tire nerdiness. Because also the other people that are there are tire nerds. And I mean that as a compliment. It was the head of SCCA was there. Yeah. The guy from Grassroots Motorsport was there. Rob Dahm was the closest person to what I would say me in terms of we focus on videos. He does engineering, obviously. But everybody else there had way more driving experience than myself or Rob Dahm. People are running dozens of track days a year. So it was really cool to try to listen to what they were talking about, because they talk about, they do this shit all the time, and they're looking at tire deg after 15 minutes, and they're like, how do these things heat cycle? Because their constituents, let's say, are people that want to bring a car to a track 4 days out of a month. And how is the tire going to hold up in 4 different sessions when it heat cycles a bunch of times? So they were impressed by a lot of that stuff. But what was rad about this event is we got to compare it to other tires on the same track multiple different times. We did a slalom against the Bridgestone. We did a moose test against the Michelin, and then we did. A small handling circuit against the Yokohama and the Michelin. Dude, the moose test thing was the first module I did, and I was like, oh, this tire is definitely better at this task. The braking distance was way shorter.
Yeah, that's what
crazy.
They kind of I mean, I'm not suggesting shenanigans by any means, but every time I've done those sort of different modules where it's like in this module, it's the subject tire versus tire 1. In this module, it's the subject tire versus tire 2. And there's some logistical stuff that, okay, we have to find ways, but I think they run all the competitors in all the modules. And then they go, well, our tire did the best against this one. They set
Probably.
them up in I went to one, I think it was BF Goodrich 10 years ago, and they clearly set the competitor tire as the worst performing of the competitor to show how much better at that particular module is. Again, I'm not suggesting shenanigans. I do believe that they're sort of doing this. It's good faith, but it's also showing the tire in the best light by comparing it in each way by its worst competitor.
That might be true. I think the benefit of the doubt here, I would say, on like the handling circuit, we had 3 tires running, and we're running M3 sedans, and that was short straightaways, lots of hard braking and like second gear cornering, and so there you have 3 different tires, and you're going left, right, go, stop. Like you're kind of doing everything with the car at a lower speed, not like big thermal track speed. So there you get to see like, are they just sandbagging for one tire or another? The braking test, maybe they were, but objectively, like the Hoosier did stop better. It had better grip. Part of this might be the Hoosier tire is a lot lighter than some of the competitors by like 7 to 24%. So you have less rotating mass. It's also like
that helps.
It's sticky.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, dude. Because in the first press briefing they were like, "And our tire is lighter," and my brain was like, "We talking grams? Like, come on! Like, what are we talking about?" And they showed us it was like pounds of difference.
I wonder how do you get pounds out of a tire?
Well, they say it's their experience from doing race compound, and like their construction method is different. I don't know. Like they wouldn't show us how the tire is made, so I don't know.
I wonder if that
the measurements.
I wonder if that makes it less resistance to puncture on the street.
Good question.
You're probably not gonna pick up a nail on the track,
right?
But maybe there's a layer of some kind of a Kevlar, some tough substance that's in a normal tire that is designed to resist road detritus versus a tire that's track focused. Totally. Again, I don't know. Maybe
they're like, we have our Featherlight technology, and we're like, what is that? And they're like, well, we can't get into it right now. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, there has to be less material.
There's less
Otherwise
of something.
Way less. But I guess if it wears out at the same rate as other 200 treadwear tires, and it's the same size effectively. All right, well, whatever they did reduced the weight a lot, which everyone's trying to reduce rotating mass and unsprung weight in a car. Yeah. So it was really impressive.
Yeah.
And there were things like the handling circuit. The Yokohamas were almost the same as the Hoosier. Like they were really, really close. The Sport Cup 2R, though, like had way more understeer. And this was not just me saying this if I was driving like shit. Like everyone would get out of the cars. Again, tire nerds, and they're like, that one just doesn't stick as well. This one does a really good job.
Cups. The Cup 2 or the Cup 2R, they've never really done anything for it. The PS4S, the PSS5 are like magic. Awesome for a street tire.
Yeah.
But I found like the Pirelli race Corsas, even the Dunlops on my Spyder, I've liked those better than I've liked Cups. I find that Cups just like, they're not, considering how fast they wear, they wear fast as shit.
Yeah.
Considering how fast they wear, I would hope they were stickier.
Right. I wonder...
Like the Taycan GTs, like cheater tire, that's a Pirelli.
Really?
That's a sticky fucking tire.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always thought Porsche had a deal with Michelin.
No, they use a bunch of shit. My car's
yours on Dunlops. That's right.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
They have a bunch of weird stuff going on.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, tire construction
Porsche's tire deal is
amazing.
You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
Because you're...
That's...
Da-da-da-ba-da-da.
Guys, we got to take a quick break from the action because support for the Smoking Tire comes from GetMaineLobster.com. It's lobster season. It's always lobster season at Get Maine Lobster. And picture this. A rugged sunset coast over Maine, the sky ablaze with color, and you're surrounded by friends or that special someone. The salty ocean breeze mixes with the mouth-watering scent of fresh lobster, and you can already hear the laughter and the sound of cracking shells. Get Maine Lobster isn't just dinner, it's an event. So whether you're impressing your lady, enjoying a killer night with the boys, nothing says I know how to throw down like a feast of perfectly cooked lobster. It's about savoring bold flavors and sharing moments that turn into stories you'll tell for years. So if you're ready to elevate your next gathering, head over to getmainelobster.com. Use promo code TIRE for 15% off all orders. Trust me, when that lobster hits the table, you'll be the hero of the night at getmainelobster.com. Promo code TIRE for 15% off. Get Maine Lobster. It's more than just a meal. It's a chance to create unforgettable memories. Don't miss out. Use code TIRE for 15% off. Guys, today we got to talk about MyBookie. With MyBookie, you're not just watching football, you're cashing in on the action. There's risk-free bets, thousands in cash prizes, and epic rewards every single week. And the best part is you can bet on any game, anywhere, anytime, straight from your phone. Just hit the link in these podcast notes or visit mybookie.ag and use promo code TIRE to get a head start. It's MyBookie's 10-year anniversary, and they are rolling out the red carpet for bettors. Bet big and bet confident with risk-free Thursdays. If your boosted bet doesn't hit, you get your money back. There's weekly, no sweat, win-win bets all season long. And for those of you who've been playing with MyBookie, they've got something for you too. There's a brand new loyalty rewards program in MyBookie Plus. It's simple. The more you play, the more you earn, and as you progress through the tiers, you unlock exclusive promotions, epic giveaways, and cash back in your account. You guys know if I've got some downtime on my lunch break, whatever, hop on MyBookie, and I can take my sports knowledge and look at this week's games and turn it into cash money. Sign up now at mybookie.ag and use my promo code TIRE to cash in on a double deposit bonus. You can literally double the cash in your account before you even place your first bet. But don't wait on it. It's only available for a limited time. Turn that football knowledge into big-time payouts with MyBookie. Make your football season a winning season with MyBookie. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere.
I mean, there's so many weird things these days. Like, I've talked to people where, like the whole custom blend, you know, so many cars come out and they go, we have a custom tire from so-and-so.
Yeah.
And they can make like the inside part of the tire harder than the outside and softer in the middle. I mean, there's like the compound is not the same across the whole thing, which is
and you
really
can
wild.
cover up, you can mask handling issues with the tire.
True.
It's a lot of times it's easier to set, to come up with a tire that works with what you have than re-engineering your suspension to work with an off-the-rack tire. And that's why they do that a lot of times. Lucid with the Sapphire was very proud of the fact that they use an off-the-rack PS4S. Sapphire.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't get a special compound.
No special tire.
And that tire is so good. The PS4S is amazing.
Yeah. And when you see our Road and Track Performance Electric Vehicle of the Year story, you'll see how that worked out for them.
Oh, interesting. A little hint?
Hintsy hints.
Hintsy
hints.
So it was, I don't know, I found it to be a very educational experience. And, they may have set up the things to most benefit their product, but the group, I would say, collectively was impressed with the product that they let us test. The downside of the event was driving on the big track in thermal. We got to drive M4s and then M4 GT4s, which was fucking rad, of course, because race car.
Race car is good.
Race car was great and interesting and so different from the street car. I mean,
race car
less
on
power.
DOT tire, though, is probably interesting. That race car is probably supposed to be on slicks.
Probably.
Probably had less grip than it normally would have.
I guess. What's funny about it is it has less steering angle than a stock car. So, and they told us before we went out, they're like, if you start drifting, you will not catch it. They're like, people have hit that wall and that wall because they think they have more angle and you don't. So just be mindful.
That's
and I'm really glad they said that. I mean, no one was going out there to try to FD this thing.
And with a fucking butterfly yoke, that would be terrible anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You have 90 degrees of steering, maybe a little bit more, and that's all you really need. But it was rad. I think this is the first.
I wonder why that is. They're
real
using
race
wider.
car driven.
They must be using wider front tires than stock.
I think so. I did not.
Right? They've got to be.
I did look at the measurement.
They've got to be using wider front tires than stock. So it's they're probably running a square stance.
Probably.
And
I should have taken that measurement.
I mean, whatever. Race cars, it's not uncommon that a race car would run 4, quote, rear tires.
Right.
That happens all the time.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Or that they might be running wider than, it might be 315s or 305s or something like that. So there's just not a lot of steering angle. But, man, when you're just like locked into the seat and all you have to do is steer and brake, manual brakes, by the way, it is so nice.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of like tiny little changes you can make to the wheel. The steering was super light in this thing. And it was very loud, but it's funny is that it has like 100 less horsepower than the street car.
Yeah, it's got restrictors.
Right. So we're chasing the instructor who's driving a street car, and he's pulling in the straights, but then on corners we're just like up his ass. So I was chasing Rob. Dom. We did 2 sessions, I think. I chased Adam from Grid Life on the first one.
Yeah,
he was
Adam
there.
Jabay. What up, Adam?
Great dude. And I was right behind him, and then I chased Rob in the second one, and I was happy that I was not left in the dust. I'm really glad I did the driving school the week before this.
Yeah.
Instead of the week after this.
Were you able to apply some driving school
absolutely.
lessons?
Yeah, my braking mostly. That would have been the biggest thing, which I was just doing all backwards and just keeping eyes up and all that stuff. So on these cars, the tires, like, I don't know how they would do against competition. What I will say is that I liked that as they got hotter and the breakaway increased, it was just progressive. Like, if street car or race car, when they start to slide, you know it's happening and you can catch it. And they didn't seem to fall off. I mean, we did, I think, 20-minute sessions, and they didn't fall off after 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was also 100 degrees.
Yeah.
So hot day, and they stayed very consistent. So fucking rad event, though. I mean, really, really fun. Tons of driving. I liked all the different modules things. I know even if it was set up to show them in the best light.
Yeah.
I think it was rad.
Okay, well, I mean, I've already said that I think it would be nice to get a set to try on the Spyder. Maybe we'll see.
So they said Q4. They're rolling out the sizes. A big point of contention though is that they're 5 30-seconds deep, and SCCA requires 7 30-seconds for all their events.
Okay.
So they're actually not presently allowed to run in SCCA events, which is like
5 30-seconds is not a lot of tread.
It is not.
No.
I mean, neither is 7. But so that is a big thing. It's like, all right, so these are for certain track events, but not possibly the biggest organization in the country.
Yeah. I think, look, if they want to send me a set, I'll happily try them. But I think I'd really like some Pilot Sport 4S's on my car.
I mean, these would be fun. They're sticky, dude. It was
but I get caught in the rain sometimes.
I know.
And I kind of want regular ass tires.
These didn't have the deepest channel for rain, I'll say. We didn't test it in the water, but just looking at the tread pattern, that's not what it's for.
Those Dunlops I have are not great in the rain. Mm-hmm. They're only okay. But I also would like a tire. The PS4S is better resistance to temperature change than pressure.
Their window is big.
Is
right?
it? The PS4S is. Yeah. The Dunlops, I have to adjust the pressures almost every time I drive the car because just small changes in I'm talking about ambient temperature. If I drove the car last week and then it was 80 degrees outside and now it's 65, I have to put air in the tires.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's a noticeable change. It's weird. And I've had to bleed air out a couple times from ambient temperature.
Does it get too hot?
Yeah. Well, I've just if I put air in it at 65 and this weekend it's 90, I have to bleed air out. I mean, just from regular street driving.
Wow.
It's weird. Yeah. All right. Well, I look forward to checking that out. We had the Acura ZDX Type S for your bachelor party weekend. Mm-hmm. It's based on Cadillac Lyric architecture and therefore also Chevy Blazer architecture. There is a little there's GM in there. You can feel a little bit of GM in there if you ask me.
How so?
Well, it's got Super Cruise, first off.
It does, which is amazing.
Which works good. I have no complaints on Super Cruise.
Is it? Well, I mean, they call it like, I wrote it down. It's like Honda,
Did they rename it?
They renamed it.
Oh.
But
it's Super Cruise.
Okay, that's why it feels as good as Super Cruise.
Yeah, and it has
is
the
mapped.
same like steering wheel bit.
Yeah, and it uses mapped roads, or it's only allowed on mapped
LiDAR
roads.
mapped roads. Yes,
that's the way
Super
to go.
Cruise. Yeah,
it's so good. I mean,
when it works, it works awesome.
I drove it to Thermal. So I drove it to Thermal in the daytime. I drove it back at night, and then we drove it up to Ojai.
Yeah,
and I only had one weird moment, which was at nighttime. It was like going under a bridge, and there was an HOV lane coming in, like a bit of a change in like the lane markings, I guess, and it did a little wiggle. But otherwise, it was like the steadiest thing in terms of staying centered on the lane, not steering back and forth. It's really good. The lane change thing in this shits on Volvo.
Really? Because it actually, you just tap it and it fucking changes lanes, right?
And it doesn't need 8 football fields of room. It just looks and it does the move, and it's like, dude, it's really good.
Open world ADAS with an open with no defined what they call the ODD, the operational design domain. Tesla, Volvo, and a few others, they want their systems to be able to activate whenever. You could turn on fucking autopilot on Angeles Crest. Yeah. Same with the Volvo. You could activate it wherever. But it doesn't work good when you do that. Whereas Ford and GM, LiDAR mapped highways, you can only, and Acura, I suppose, because it's GM system, you can only turn it on there. But when you turn it on there, it works good.
It just makes sense to me. Like I don't know why you would. When I drove a Tesla years ago in Georgia, I turned on whatever it was called, like autopilot, on a super twisty road, and I was shocked that it did it, and it did a pretty good job. But I don't know why you'd want to do that. Like, it was unsettling with how much back and forth was happening without me being involved in it. Then it's like, when you're riding passenger, and if it's a really twisty road, sometimes you can get car sick because you're not predicting the motion of the car. Yeah. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But like on a highway, I mean, when I have a 2-hour drive on one single freeway, sure, I'm going to hit the button and just sit there. Yeah. And like look out the window.
I get it. But I was participating in a sort of focus group with Alex Roy, and we were talking about driver monitoring systems, because in order to use most of these systems, it tracks your face and your eyes and shit, and if you're on your phone or reading a book or fucking about back here, it disengages. And Alex was actually, I think this is smart, and I don't know why we haven't, as a country or whatever, figured this out yet. He said the implementation of those is 180 out. It's opposite of what it should be, meaning when you're alert, when you're sober, when you're awake, you fucking drive the car. It should be that when it detects that you're tired or drunk or distracted, then it takes over. It only works when you're alert. And if it detects you're distracted or whatever, it goes and just shuts off.
That's pretty funny. I do see that. I understand that point. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like, hey, you're doing a bad job paying attention.
Yeah.
You drive now.
Yeah. Like it's I'm sure there's, I'm not, I know exactly why they don't do it. It's for legal liability, right? They don't want to get sued. The manufacturer of this shit wants to put it out there, but does not want to take responsibility for what it does, particularly if the driver is tired or drunk or whatever.
If it was used as a remedy for that at this point, I'm sure it will be eventually. But at this point, if they said, for when you're tired, for when you're da-da-da, and then someone crashes, they go, well, you said if I was tired. They go, oh, you were too tired, or you were too drunk. Yeah.
Other than the ADAS, though, I mean, ZDX was like, it's a car. It's a car. And this one was the Type S, so it had a better suspension and better brakes and tires.
The adjustable suspension was pretty good.
Yeah.
The seats were not as good, I felt, as in the MDX Type S we drove. Those were great. These seats felt a lot flatter, a lot less supportive. I felt myself moving around a lot. I only did a 2-hour drive, which is not a long one. But I was like fidgeting a lot trying to find a better position. They were not sculpted the way Acura seats have been in the past. Yeah. And it was a little, I thought, bigger than it needed to be for a 5-passenger SUV. It drives like a 7-passenger SUV, but it's really a 5-passenger. Yeah, and it's also expensive. The one we had was like $75,000. Yeah. And if it's two row, 5-passenger, it's a lot more money than a Mach-E.
Mach-Es are in the 40s.
And a Mach-E does that for 30 grand less.
Yeah.
I mean, this had a good stereo like Acura has. The native nav was good, and you can dim everything with one switch. Thank God, I like that. But man, that's a lot of money over a Mach-E for.
It had a better back seat. If you're putting adults in the back seat, that's a reason to get this one because the back seat did have a lot of room.
Well, it's a bigger vehicle, yeah.
Yeah. But it didn't really blow me away in any particular way.
No, I mean the hands-free tech impressed me the most. Otherwise, it feels like an EV SUV. It does the same acceleration that Volvo does, where it's like gentle. It's not a cliff of acceleration.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, the competitors are like Rivian. Doesn't have CarPlay. Starts about the same price in the 70s. Definitely a cooler looking car, but
I'd probably rather have a Rivian. Other than Super Cruise, I think I'd rather have a Rivian R1S versus an MDX or a ZDX.
I think I would for like style reasons, handling reasons, acceleration reasons, and I kind of trust Rivian's electronic architecture more because the Lyriq, I mean, they've had a lot of problems. The GM's had a bunch of issues, like delays and things with the Ultium thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it is a car.
It is a car.
It is a car. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they're having trouble moving. Maybe you get one cash on the hood. Maybe there's deals right now. I don't know what the lease deal is on a ZDX, but I bet you it's all right. I bet $75,000 is just where the negotiation starts, not where it ends. I don't have a picture up on the gram yet, but I got for this week a Range Rover. Got to take one more quick break, folk, because we got Delete Me in the house. Guys, we got to take one quick break from the show for Delete Me because someone you know, I think, has been a victim of identity theft, maybe harassed or stalked, maybe doxxed. How about robocalls? That's my big problem is I had to get rid of the robocalls. It stinks. You got to put your phone number in to buy stuff online, and then they sell your phone number and your other data to all these people that just want you to buy their crap. You got to get rid of that stuff. And it's these data brokers, right? They compile the information and they make a huge profit off your data. Your data is a commodity. People on the web can buy your private details, your phone, your address, your email, which can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and spam calls. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. As a person who exists publicly and someone who shares their opinion online, I am aware of this kind of stuff, and that's why I recommend Delete Me. It's a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. All you got to do is sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly the information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Delete Me then sends you regular personalized privacy reports showing what they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Delete Me is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, they do all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. That's the only way to get 20% off. Go to joindeleteme.com, include the word join, joindeleteme.com/tire, and then enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And now back to the show. Mainly because two reasons. One, I haven't driven the current generation Range Rover at all. You went on the launch and represented.
Oh, you still haven't driven it?
I had not driven a new Range Rover.
Okay.
So I wanted to try one. And also my parents were in town, and so I do not have a picture of it yet. And also my parents were in town, and I wanted to show for them in this style. And so the one that they sent me, I didn't specify which one I wanted. They sent me Jewish Racing Gold, very nice. But it's interestingly, it's that. It's basically that, and it's although that one is a hybrid because it's plugged in, but it's a base model. So never driven a base model Range Rover. And, you know, it being a full-size Range Rover, to call it base, you know, it has basically no options on it, but it still comes with a lot of things that are standard. It's $106,000, which is the cheapest Range Rover I have ever seen in the modern era. I mean, the ones I was driving, the last gen ones I drove, I think I drove 3 different variants. They were all like 180.
That's what I drove, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine had the ceramic knobs and things.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can get these up to almost $300,000. And so I was really interested because I was like, well, what does $105,000, you know, get you? Fucking sweet. It's great. I genuinely don't feel like I'm missing anything. Maybe I'd like to have massage seats. Didn't have massage seats. Had heated and cooled seats.
Wow.
All the materials were excellent. There was no cheap materials. Very adjustable seats. I mean, it had, you know, it has the off-road stuff. It has air suspension. I actually have 2 press cars right now. I have a Genesis G70 and this Range Rover. And getting out of the Range Rover and into the Genesis is a fine car. It's a sports sedan. But getting out of the Range Rover into the Genesis literally feels broken. The suspension, it's like it feels broken. It feels like it's on cut springs.
So did you like the suspension in this car, in the Range Rover?
The Range Rover?
Yeah.
For driving around town? Oh, yeah.
How was it over bad pavement?
I mean, like bad LA pavement?
Well, also, what size wheels did you have on yours?
Whatever those are, those 21s maybe?
Okay.
They're like pretty big, but this car in this is like the exact car I have.
So the one I drove, I think, was on 22s or 23s.
Okay.
And on the bad sections of the NorCal roads, it shook around like the Spyder RS.
Oh, really?
And I was like, what's going on? This should not, like, I don't want a Range Rover to feel like that over bad pavement.
No,
but
I wouldn't.
I do think that the wheel size had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think if you scroll back up, I think these might be 21s. They're not the biggest ones. They're definitely not the biggest ones possible. I don't know. Maybe they are bigger. I haven't looked, but I have not hit any situation yet where I was like, ooh, that's not good. It's been pretty cushy, and it's got the the 6-cylinder, which cool, fine. Mm-hmm. It's basically the Defender engine, right? And I don't think for a car like this that I would spend a whole bunch of money to get the bigger engine. I don't think you need to be flying all over with 500 horsepower with one of these things. I think this is more than adequate. It's very smooth. It's very quiet. And, like, it's a Range Rover. You're just cruising around. You don't need to go fast. It's, like, totally fine power. And I think it's, because of the type of people who buy these and they want everything and whatever, and because of the fact that Range Rover offers a high level of customization, people go pretty crazy. But, like, man, you can get... It's a ton of car. I mean,
that's amazing for $100,000.
I'm not saying $100,000 isn't a lot of money. It is, but to get a full size brand new Range Rover that doesn't feel at all like you're slumming when driving it, I would have thought you had to spend 20-30% more.
Yeah,
to get into that.
Because you can price X3s up to 100,
yeah.
X5s up to 100. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of lesser brands, because Range Rover is, like, colloquially
it's
the
an
top
ultra
of the
luxury
SUV.
brand,
and you can get that for that pricing. That is comparable with, like, normal everyday brands. Cybertruck.
I don't love the touchscreen. It's not my favorite. I would like a few more knobs, but it's not terrible. CarPlay seems to work pretty good. It's a really, really nice, comfy, stylish thing. I feel pretty pimped driving it.
It's so good looking.
I mean, it feels like if you were to see it parked in front of my house, you'd probably go, it's $150,000. But it's like, it's 50% less than that to actually buy it. Very impressive.
Yeah.
I recommend, I very rarely say, get the base and skip everything else. In this case, get a lot for the base. I would keep the options light on one of these.
I mean, if you get CarPlay and heated cooled seats and the seats are comfortable.
They're really
You
comfortable.
have radar cruise?
Yeah.
Wow. All
Yeah.
right. Then everything else is just
Everything else
niceties.
is fluff.
Yeah, fluff.
I mean,
decor.
okay, I'm not against customization. You want to get some crazy wood or crazy fucking metal or color leather, a paint to sample, like whatever, go have at it. But like, there's a ton of value in skipping that shit.
That's good because there are cars we've driven where you feel like you have to get the better version or the best version.
Yeah.
And the base version is meh. And it's nice to know that that's not always the case.
Well, there's cars, Porsche is a great example. You don't need to get the best version, but they got the button blanks.
Right.
If you got a bunch of
Shows you.
got a bunch of blank buttons
If you'd
on
worked
there.
harder.
Yeah, we sold that like base Carrera for that guy, and it was like a base Carrera. It had like no options, and there was like 7 button blanks right on the side. And you're like, oh boy, look at all this shit you didn't get.
I guess that's the good thing about the Cayenne when they switched to the capacitive thing in the middle. If the function was missing, it was just there was no light underneath that part of it. You could just treat it like a drink tray.
Yeah. Same with the Range Rover. There's really not a lot of buttons. It's pretty much the functions go through the touchscreen, so you really don't have a whole lot of things that aren't there. But I do love this champagne Jewish racing gold color, and it's a fucking nice thing, man.
It's a really nice car.
I'd been driving it around with my parents, and then I left it for Hannah because she was taking my mom out yesterday, and me and my dad went to go play some golf with Corey, and we took the Genesis, and we got in it. And I really hadn't driven it yet. I'm going to drive it this weekend, but I really hadn't driven much yet. And we got it, and we were like, "Is it broken?" Like it felt broken. It felt like you had such cut springs, and you had like no travel. It was really rough, and it wasn't. It's just my calibration was totally fucked after 3 days driving a Range Rover.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's such a great car to cruise LA in, man. But it's big. It feels big.
I mean, they are big.
Yeah.
I think I drove the Autobiography, like long wheelbase, which is really long, with that long door. I mean, it's a big vehicle.
Yeah, the long wheelbase, not for me, but I get it.
Man. And they executed the new design, I think, perfectly. Like, perfect evolution from the last gen and the gen before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very nice vehicle. One note, the Night Sky Canyons will be sent out in a couple of weeks. And if anyone wants to order one and not having to wait, if you get your order in now, it'll still go out. But once those get shipped out, although technically the Blue Night Sky dial is not limited, we're going to sell as many as we can. Once this run of them is shipped, it's out of the catalog until next year. So we have other colors. So if you want one, it's not limited like the other ones. It's going to come back later, but it's not going to be available the whole time because we can only get a certain number of movements from La Joux Perrette, and we're going to use them for other colors.
Got it.
So if you want a Night Sky Canyon, head over to noticewatches.com and order it in the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, you will have to wait a year or get one of the other colors. I want to go to the people at the Patreon, but before we do, did you happen to catch the new episode of Some More News?
No, but I saw it was called Cybertruck, Cyberfuck,
an hour
or
and
whatever.
5-minute deep dive on
popped
what a
up and I
piece
was
of
like,
shit the Cybertruck is.
Christmas come early for you.
And although Cody and the team at Some More News are not full on, they're not car experts, but there's a little bit of nuanced details here and there that they didn't quite get right, but they still make an excellent case for why even not only the execution but also the very concept of this truck is incredibly bad for society, for people outside the truck, for people inside the truck. And I watched it last night, and they were pretty fucking spot on.
I would like to see them debate James May because he liked it in his video.
I don't think James May, as smart as he is, and he's very smart, I don't think James May considered some of the societal implications of it.
I think that's probably true. But there were
I think
things
he
about
saw
driving
something
it
that
I
looked
didn't like.
weird.
So,
Well, there's
so
things about driving it that I
like
didn't like either. But if you think about stuff like Some More News, which is one of my favorite YouTube channels, they were talking about like there's a reason. The kind of shit I say all the time. there's a reason cars aren't made like this, and it's not because no one's been brave enough to do it to Elon. It's like, it's because that's the wrong way to make a car. Like, that's the best. Like, there's a reason that car windows aren't bulletproof. It's not because no one's been brave enough to make a bulletproof car. It's because if you fucking get trapped in your car, breaking the window is a legitimate way of getting out.
Or for EMT or whoever gets you out.
There's a reason car body panels aren't fucking super thick, super hard stainless steel. It's because they come into contact with things that you don't, and the idea that Elon says, if you get into an altercation with another vehicle, you'll win. Like, that's a really fucked up thing to say. So, like, what? You, like, kill the other person? Like, you just destroy their vehicle? Like, that's not how cars are supposed to be designed.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I just think it's a yet another sad indication of the times, which is like hyper masculine, tough guy stuff.
In an hour and 5 minutes, they get to that too. Yeah. I mean, that's what he means by the concepts around it being wrong. Even fucking shout out to him. There's a whole bunch of there's a bunch at the end of that video about why what we really should be having is like a modernized version of a K truck that's like small and efficient but holds a lot. Like, and there's a whole bit about how like actually people really want K trucks right now and they're super popular.
Well, but I mean, I think both markets can exist at the same time. They're just, I wonder, the question would be is what's the Venn diagram of Cybertruck and K truck enthusiast, and does that exist?
Probably low.
It's like people that drive a Raptor and will openly comment, I would never drive a Prius, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Where was I? I was just somewhere. Oh, it was up at Thunderhill, where a guy was saying that he dailied an F-150, but he used Honda Actis at his work site because he couldn't get the bigger trucks in where they maneuver them where they needed to go. And I was like, okay, so the actual work that you're doing
that is funny.
with these little fuel-efficient Japanese trucks, but you're driving down the road in a giant truck that's not useful for the things that you need trucks to do. And he's like, yup.
Does he commute on dirt and,
No.
So he should really just drive a Prius to the job site and then drive the Acti around.
Yeah. But, So anyway, I recommend.
Look, the other side, of course, is like if you daily a GT3 RS, it's like, do you race car all day? Like, no.
No, but you're not physically taking up more space on the road.
Right.
You're not. A GT3 driven slowly is fairly fuel efficient. It's not putting more abuse on roads. It's not tearing into public resources. It's not taking up extra space in parking lots.
I mean, they're wide as fuck, but I know what you mean.
Not compared to a
Raptor or a truck.
Or a Raptor.
True.
No way.
True.
But anyway, if you got an hour and 5 minutes, check out some more news. Their hour and 5 minutes on. Oh shit! And Doug Stanhope is on AYG. I got to listen to that one. That's gonna be nuts. I mean, I already know he's extremely garbage, but I need to hear it from his mouth.
Yeah, I want to hear all the stories.
Yeah, let's go to the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you get in on the game. You want to put questions up for the show. You want to get it early. You want to watch the live stream. You want to get an extra show every month, the Pro Driver Show. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast is where you do it. Excuse me, I burped there. Nathan Reynolds says the Lexus LFA and the 997.2 GT2 RS have nearly the same exact production run at 500 units globally and 150 for North America. They also came out at around the same time and are valued at around the same number. Which is more desirable to you both? Would you rather have a Lexus LFA or a 997.2 GT2 RS?
That's real hard. Well, I've never driven an LFA.
I have a rad
GT2 RS. I don't think I've driven that either.
The thing about a GT2 RS 997 is not that unique.
in terms of
I
experience.
mean, it's the GT3 RS plus the turbo, right? So they're great. They're a good time, but I'd rather have the GT3 RS than the GT2 RS of that period.
I'd go LFA because of the sound, the interior. It's unique. The story, the whole like 4D carbon fiber weaving machine they had to make the car.
Yeah,
like all of that. Yeah,
I love a car when the car company has lost money making. That's like that. That's usually how you know you've got an over-engineered car.
Yeah,
yeah. I'd probably go LFA as well. That sound is very, very special, and you're not likely to see another LFA on the road. I think the GT2 RS is overrepresented here in Southern California, and so even though they are very rare, I see them with some regularity. Let's see. Greg H. wants to talk about Hurricane Helene. I'm not sure if it's gotten national coverage. It has absolutely gotten national coverage. It's front page news across all of our newspapers here.
Yeah, social media, everything. But basically, Greg, for anyone listening, wanted to bring awareness. Like, if you feel like helping out and you don't live in North Carolina or the surrounding areas, you could look for a charity of your choice to donate to. People definitely need help and money and things because it's fucking gnarly what's going on.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, hurricanes in places that hurricanes don't normally go.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Real bad.
That's all right. That's not a sign.
Dude, shout out. Do you see Cleese McFarland flew around like delivering
with his
water
helicopter?
and stuff? Like, great.
Yeah.
If you have a helicopter and you have the ability, I
Yes.
mean, that's something, a big call for help went out on social media. Like, they need more helicopters to reach people.
I have a crazy request. It's a crazy request. I mean, it makes sense, but like that's a crazy request.
Well, I mean, this person was very upset, and justifiably. They were like, well, the National Guard doesn't have enough helicopters here, and the Air Force doesn't have enough helicopters here, so that's what we need. Like, we don't need chainsaws and trucks right now. We need people going to people's houses, that are unreachable. So
that's pretty great.
So, but yeah, shout out Greg.
Justin says, what race car from the last 30 years would you most like to drive and why?
30 years. Interesting.
Ferrari F50 GT1. I think they only made one, maybe two. And it is, no, not 550, F50.
Oh, because I wrote what I was going to say.
The 550, look at that. Yeah, Ferrari. Oh, F50 GT. Look at that.
That is a rad car.
I will have a go in that, please. 550 GT would also be very cool.
I'm torn. 550 GT made by ProDrive specifically, because that's the only one that did decent, and they still didn't win. But I'd also be very tempted to do Colin McRae rally car. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be a toss-up for me.
That could, a WRC car, a WRC Subaru.
Yeah.
That could do it.
555 or just, any livery really, but that would be dope.
Maybe the Calsonic R32 Skyline.
Oh, the blue one?
Yeah.
The one that won everything. And
so fast it got banned?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I say Pork Roll says, in a fictional world, what cars could you see your pets drive based on their personalities?
That's
kind of funny. Okay. Well, Finn is like a big meaty, I have 4 cats. So Finn is like a big meaty boy, but he likes being outside. He likes going outside. We supervise, we don't let him roam free. But let's see. So outside, Finn would probably drive like a lifted Wrangler or like a brodozery, like Bronco.
He would.
Right?
Yeah, with a tap out sticker on the back because he likes to fight.
Yeah. And Nikki is like a round girl. She's chubby. But she's very snuggly, and she's very sweet and talkative. And she would drive a white Jetta.
Oh, I was going to say Honda Accord.
She's definitely a white Jetta kind of girl.
I think Tucker's very energetic, likes to go outside, but doesn't like water or rain, hates it. So I think Miata, possibly like supercharged Miata. Okay. Something that will just go and go and go and go and not break.
Right.
That's what he would do.
Cricket is a lunatic. And she's like a dumpster cat. So she would drive a 6-year-old Nissan Altima with every body panel dented. And Monty is like, he's a snowshoe. So he's like a designer cat, but he came off of a farm and we found him under a truck. So that's like a hot, trashy person. So Monty would drive like a single cab F-150 1996, but then be like good looking. And you know what I mean? Like good jeans.
Right.
Good jeans, trash background.
Okay.
That's Monty.
Right? LeSabre. TC by Maserati.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Chrysler TC. Lorenzo Bennett is looking to buy first mechanical watch, $500. I mean, $500 is limiting you to Seiko, Citizen, Timex, and then some micro brands. So you can, if you're interested in micro brands and you don't want one of the major brands, you can look at what the fuck is the thing that Intersect, the show that Notice puts on, Intersect. You could see the brands that were there. It's like Jack Mason and obviously Notice and Chris Ward and some other brands. I mean, I'm a Seiko man, so for $500 I'm getting a Seiko 5 GMT or a Seiko 5 Diver or like a Turtle or an SKX. That's what I'm getting. But those are all like divers, and if you don't want a diver, then the thing about a watch is it has to fit your activities, your dress style. So there isn't like a best. It's just like what's best for you. $500 gets you a watch that should last basically the rest of your life with some kind of care. So I would start with Seiko, Citizen, Timex, Notice, and if you don't find anything there, come back to us. Mr. Nailhead wants us to pull up the Mansory Puro Sangue. It is very bad, and you were ready. It's like makes it look like a Civic Type R, doesn't it? It's got a lot of Civic Type R in there. You have to hit the OK, I agree, so that Mansory sends us cookies. Why is this photo so like dark? It looks awful. I mean, really, really awful.
There are so many vents.
Yeah.
I mean, like heat extractor hood.
Yeah.
So much carbon added to it. And this car already had that kind of like carbon on carbon look, like the fenders.
Well, it had those weird separate fender things.
They said the design is like a car floating on a car.
It was not good.
This has even more. These look like totally non-functional scoops on the door.
They're definitely non-functional.
Because you can see that they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, they just glue on.
This wing looks like it's from a GLA 35 AMG. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah. It's really awful, but it will serve its purpose. Its purpose is to show the people with the regular Puro Sangues that you have more money than them. That's it. I mean, it doesn't need to be the uglier and the more ostentatious, the better. When
they repainted this one too.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Special paint vermilion. It's called the Mansory Pugnator, which is not a good name. I don't know what that word means.
I don't know. Google Pugnator.
It just doesn't seem like a good.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. I mean, in fairness, Puro Sangue doesn't roll off the tongue either. Ferrari's naming scheme isn't good.
From the Latin root means fighter or combatant. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to beat the shit out of it, so I get that.
That is not what I think of when I hear that word.
But so it's interesting because there's a lot of individual design details that are bad, and then also it comes together to be bad. Like it somehow looks worse than its individual
some of its parts
details.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. The front looks like they're trying to do a C7 Corvette ZR1 kind of thing. And then the sides look like maybe a Civic Type R, and the back looks sort of like this Mercedes GLA. But none of it looks like a more expensive car than the original car. Like not that Mansory has ever done anything classy, but
the thing with this stuff is if you see it in the first 6 months, a car like the Puro Sangue was out, and if you're into cars, you go, oh, not only did they buy it, they added a bunch of shit, so they do have a lot of money. But if you see this, I think like 2 years after that car's out, it will. I think the casual bystander would assume you bought a used one and then bought a bunch of eBay stuff, and just threw carbon at it. It definitely makes a last-gen Civic Type R look tame.
It also just, it mainly doesn't look, it's not cohesive. Like, it's one thing to, like,
Yeah, it is.
build a body kit. I mean,
It's ugly all over.
yeah, but it's like, it's just a bunch of individual parts put on, like, it's not like what you're doing is improving downforce or improving aerodynamic flow or restyling the car in a way that makes it look different. It's worse from the back.
Oh my God,
right?
why didn't I scroll down before?
Yeah, it's like, it's
Wow.
actually far worse from the back. You look at the back, it has Dodge Charger taillights.
And it's got like an F1 style
Yeah.
third brake light where the tow hitch would be.
And vertical stacked exhaust, which I thought we've agreed collectively as a community that we're never doing that again.
Well, they moved the exhaust. Wasn't the exhaust more inset in stock form? That's why I burned my pants.
Oh,
Because we had to leave the car running, because if you turn the car off and leave the doors open, it would brick itself.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
also
melted my
only an
pants.
okay car, but it's really just that it looks like they glued a bunch of shit on it, which is the fact that they probably didn't. I mean, imagine going through the time and effort it takes to do this, only for it to look like you've glued a bunch of shit on.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Yeah.
It's so.
But
I wanted to find out how much it cost.
let everybody who sees you know that you have more money than them to throw in the garbage.
I use this joke to describe the last gen Civic Type R, but it's applicable here. It looks like a transformer that got frozen mid-transform. It's going from car to robot or vice versa, and it glitched.
It's very terrible.
I want to know how much it costs, but
I mean, it's got to be the same as the car again. It's got yikes, the interior's brutal.
catchy though. Okay.
It's really, really bad, yeah. It's, I'm not surprised. Mansory, everything they touch turns to shit. Narrator says, how stupid is it for someone who turns their own wrenches to consider a low-mile AMG GT? I think that car, I have no idea what it takes to work on that car. I know the hood goes vertically, which is nice.
Well, I think with modern, you need the diagnostic system.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. So I don't know, and I don't know what you need for that. I don't know if you can get a cheap iCarly code reader or if you need a bigger computer.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what stands in the way of more people working on more modern cars, even, right to repair laws being what they are.
Right.
I don't know. It also depends on what are the common problems with that car, which I don't know. I don't know what breaks frequently. So it might be things you can totally fix. And if you've owned Audis, BMWs, and Porsches and worked on all of them, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Tim A says, what is the worst Lamborghini sports car of all time from a driving experience perspective? All time.
Probably the Miura.
Could be the Miura, but I mean, there's so many I haven't driven. I've never driven a Jarama. I've never driven a 350 or a 400 GT. I've never driven a Yalpa. So I don't know.
The ones you've driven.
If you want to talk about modern ones, like an early E-Gear Mercy sucks pretty bad.
Did it have,
very
have the
clunky.
same front lift understeer that Aventadors had?
Worse.
So worse and with a worse transmission.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not great. LP640s were a huge improvement over the regular Mercy, and the E-Gear sucks in both. But a manual LP640 is at least an engaging experience in a way that a E-Gear Mercy is really not. 04 Gallardos are really trash. If you get a stick, it's a little better than it's a lot better than the E-Gear if you get a stick. But 04s, there's a reason 04s are so cheap compared to the rest of them. I mean, objectively, Countachs are probably not great from a driving experience, but the experience of fucking rolling around in a Countach overwhelms any dynamic deficiencies of that car. And the early Aventadors weren't great either. They were real understeery and pushy. It took them a long time to get those cars sorted. Cheese Strudel says, settle an argument I'm having with my girlfriend. Would a McLaren F1 be a bad investment if I won $100 million in the lottery? I don't think it would because they keep going up in value and it's awesome. She disagrees because insurance and maintenance would be expensive. So if you won $100 million, you'd have to pay half of it in taxes. right? So you're left with $50 million. McLaren F1 is $25 million. So you're going to spend half of your winnings on a McLaren F1. There are very few cars in history that have beaten the stock market. Like a single digits number of cars. The 250 GTO, a couple of like pre-war Bugattis and
Cobras,
shit.
Maybe.
Nuh-uh.
Really?
Stuff that's worth deep in the five figures now, like Mercedes race cars from the 50s.
Wait, 6 figures? You mean?
What did I say?
You said 5 figures. That's like 50.
I'm sorry, not like tens of millions. Mm-hmm. Not like a great Cobra is $2 to $3 million. I'm talking about stuff that's 20, 30 million bucks. The F1 is one of those cars. If you had spent, but the question is not how has it done in the past, because it's basically tied-ish the stock market from 1994 to today. But you're buying in at 25 million. Will it continue to do that for the next however long is a big fucking question mark. You're buying in at a high mark. You're not buying in at 600 grand.
It also depends on what. I guess it's still a bad investment. I mean, yeah, if you want to outpace the market, if you just don't want to lose money, then you need it to accrue in value, or increase in value more than the cost of insurance and maintenance and everything else with it. And then you just might be net zero.
Right. I mean, in the context of 25 million, your insurance premium will be extremely high.
Yeah.
Maintenance will not be high. I mean, even if it's super expensive to maintain, not compared to 25 million.
Percentage-wise, it won't be that high.
I mean, even if it's 100 grand a year to keep it going, it's compared to 25 million, that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's and of course, we're talking about pretend fake numbers here anyway. Obviously, I know 100 grand a year is a ton of money. But I do not think that a McLaren F1 will continue to beat the stock market going forward. Having said that, they're pretty fucking rad. I think you want the next one of those.
T50.
I think for $5 million, if you could get a T50, that is likely to continue. If you get a stick shift Pagani or stick shift Koenigsegg or one of the very rare Ferrari 599 factory manuals or something like that you think in terms of its rarity and value is undervalued today, you could buy a couple of cars that might beat the stock market or certainly would beat inflation. But I would not spend half of my after-tax money on one car. Mm-hmm. As awesome as it is. Oh my God, this question is very, very long.
Basically,
VAR the VAR has a 992 Carrera T for weekend driving and road rallies.
Basically, this person had a track car. They're selling the track car and the trailer.
Yeah.
They towed it with a pickup truck. They're going, maybe I don't need a pickup truck to just drive around in anymore. So should I get a crossover? Budget 40 grand, closer to 30 is realistic. Open to a bunch of things from Elantra N to a used X5 550i. Road trip from NorCal to SoCal 2 to 3 times a year. So what kind of cars that are not Volkswagen, Audi, Subaru, or American offer some level of fun over a truck and have decent interior space? Because he has a big dog.
Can you get a Macan, some kind of Macan, with an extended warranty or some money left over for maintenance? I would say
for that money, yeah.
Yeah, I would say Macans or Cayennes is where you want to be. Doesn't want Volkswagen, Audi. Porsche, same family, but the cars are distinctly different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I open to everything is tough, and I appreciate that there's lots of information here. I have an 80-pound Doberman, so
you need a big back seat.
Big back seat or a fold-down back seat, or something, right?
Yeah. Elantra N would be the funnest thing for that money in terms of. But you have a Carrera T, so I don't think you really need a sporty car. I would go like Matt said,
Something
I'd go
along-
crossover. Something that's just like, this is my daily. I don't care what the weather is. I can go to the snow. I can, you can do anything with it. And so I'd go towards crossover.
I don't know anybody who's regretted a Macan as a daily.
Yeah.
I mean, for $40K, you're still getting a nice vehicle.
Yeah. If you get closer to 30, it'll have more miles, or it'll
Yeah.
have if you go with a weak engine, I think you get something else. Like we drove
Right,
the
you want a
Macan,
6-cylinder one. You probably don't want a 4-cylinder one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, BMW X3s are pretty nice. From a couple years ago, they're pretty nice. You can get a Mini Countryman. I mean, our homie Alonzo Bowden fucked with a Mini Countryman. He had a Great Dane.
That's true. Those are rad.
Yeah,
Those are
they're
fun
all
time.
right. They're not bad.
Curveball, you could go like used Kia Telluride as long as it doesn't get stolen. That was a really nice
Kia
truck
boys.
for not that much money.
Right. You could go with that aren't VW, Audi, Subaru, or American. I don't like the
You
no.
can get a used RAV4 or you can get a used CRV. I mean, you could go, super pedestrian, like simple crossover, but
How about an
CarPlay.
Acura RDX A-Spec or Type S? That would be all right. An RDX with the turbo motor and the ELS stereo, that's a value right there.
Totally.
I would 40K, 30K, you're right in that game. Mm-hmm. I would look at a RDX and an MDX because those are a ton of value and they're nice to drive.
Yes, agree.
Yeah, especially if you don't expect them, if you want them to ride and handle well, but if you don't expect it to be a, quote, sports car.
You don't need it to be fast.
Yeah.
You just want it to be predictable.
Yeah. Ryan Morris has an Ioniq 5 rear-wheel drive, and when the lease is up, the 5N is tempting, but I'm looking for more of an Alpina experience. I don't know what that means. What does that
Like
mean?
Alpina, BMW, like
Yeah, but what is
V7 probably. I think
for
if
an EV for 70 to 100K?
I'm guessing
provide-
fancier, softer, more focused on luxury, where the 5N's on performance. That's my guess.
Yeah, Lucid. You want a Lucid.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, for that range, you can get the Lucid Pure, which has 500 horsepower, rear wheel drive, huge range, tons of space, right?
Yeah, he says he wants an Alpina cruise missile experience. Lucid.
That's Lucid.
Yeah, if you still want the truck, you go Rivian.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to get a used Taycan, you can get that
yeah.
too. But I don't know if you want used. But you could get a brand new Lucid for under 100K that will solve those problems for sure. Ivan Capote says, what makes a car reach $1 million? Are there requirements that need to be met, like only ultra-rare examples, or can a JDM car ever reach that point? JDM cars have sold for over $1 million. The Paul Walker Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious Skyline sold for over $1 million.
What about non-celebrity cars?
Toyota
S2.
I think Toyota 2000 GTs and Lexus LFA. I mean, LFA is not JDM, but
Right, they're
but
close.
Japanese cars
Yeah.
have sold for over $1 million. Yeah, 2000 GTs certainly they were over $1 million before. I mean, it's not one specific factor, right? You've got desirability, significance, rarity. Maybe there's a celebrity or a cultural attachment for one specific example. You're talking about blue chip collectibles, and so I believe that I think eventually certain variants of the R34 Skyline could be $1 million for sure. The Z-Tune, whatever, Nismo 3, 5, 6, there's those R34s are like kind of like Cudas. There's these like little sub little ones that they made 6 of.
But that worked, to your point, for like Porsche. I mean, there's certain 993s, super rare GT2, whatever, that is worth millions of dollars. And so I think it's just about the audience, the market, really making enough money, and then just merge that with desirability, and you get price increase.
Yeah, you have rarity, you have condition, you have what they're like to drive does help. If it looks good, it's got to be visually attractive. It should sound good. There's factors that kick things up: looking good, sounding good, being nice to drive, being historically significant, being somehow connected to racing. If it's the homologated street version of a racing car, is it cultural, like Paul Walker or James Dean or Paul Newman? There's all kinds of factors, and $1 million is just a number. It's not like if a car is $1,000,001 versus one that's $996. It's not like there's some big difference there. And then you got to get the right auction on the right day.
It's something else that's a fact that adds to desirability. Like Porsche does so much of their marketing is based on their history, whereas the R34, because I think a lot of the R34s fit the criteria we're talking about, except they need the boost from the storytelling from the big company. And Nissan is not as aggressive with that because they don't have as strong a sports car component to their market, like to their their lots.
I mean, they've sort of tried with the new Z to make connections to those skylines. It hasn't really landed.
Well, and also, but how many different sports cars does Porsche sell?
Right.
I mean, so they can tell that story all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aiden Squires, what's your favorite or most memorable automotive commercial? The Lexus champagne glass one for me.
I think I really like the it's got a Hemi ends.
Oh yeah.
I thought they were kind of funny and a little bit dirtbag, and they had burnouts in them. That was a good time.
They were all right. Paolo Pizzucchi, any chance of future TST collabs with a different style? Love to see a Canyon GMT. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. The existing Canyon does have a lot of life left in it, and designing a new watch from scratch, meaning a new case, an overall new design, is a very labor and money and time intensive process. And so Larry Casilla has a variant on the Canyon coming out soon. He's got his own variant, which I just saw the prototype of, and it's really cool. It features a very neat thing that I don't want to reveal, but is sort of specific.
It has a polisher attached to it.
Yes, you can actually buff a car with it. But like, yeah, I mean, there might be room for other watches, but I'm kind of happy with where we're at right now. Let's let this one ride for a while. Drains wallets fast. Would you agree that an electric Range Rover makes more sense than an electric G-Wagon? The G-Wagon always seemed like a statement, a car you buy for its charms and quirks, despite it making no sense on paper. The quiet refinement of an EV suits a Range Rover more, in my view.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably true. Same with like Rolls Royces and Bentleys. That makes sense as EVs.
When I was a valet and a G-Wagon would pull in, I would always get excited because it was the one with the side pipes.
Yeah.
I was like, look at this, listen to it. Oh my God, we started in the garage. Never the case with a Range Rover.
Yeah.
It was just, ooh, nice, fancy, expensive.
Yeah, I think they may have trouble selling the electric G-Wagons because I think the people who buy those things, the rumble is part of the appeal. It's an attitude thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to feel like a Russian mobster in this car. Okay. Mobile. I just replaced my daily with a 2004 Miata. I love it, but I'm lusting for more space for passengers, and I want to add a car in the future. Sub 30K, no BMWs, no Golfs, no crossover SUVs. Maximum value in terms of dollars to storage space. So sedans and hatches are okay. No off-road, no track, manual, living in California. Wait a minute. I mean, Audi S3.
No off-road, no track, manual, okay. I would go Elantra N.
I mean, sub 30K, that's a used car. Yeah, or Elantra N is right on the line for a pretty new car.
Yeah,
so,
you can get a 1-year-old one.
Yeah, so I would say Elantra N, Kona N.
Yeah, Kona N's nice.
Those would be
automatic.
Good. Yeah, that's probably your best choice. I mean, more space for passengers. Maybe a Civic Si.
Yeah, that's a good car.
That's a nice car.
That's a really nice car. Mm-hmm. And if you want the expensive version, you could get the Integra A-Spec.
Yeah.
But actually, wait, that's just expensive, and you don't need that.
Subaru Crosstrek is a good one. Maximum value of dollars to storage space. Fucking buy a used Suburban.
I feel like the Civic, man. The Civic is a big car.
It is big. Yeah. I would do that. Dave Cucci said in a recent video, Yuri and Jacob said that green is the new cement gray, meaning chalk. Green is the new chalk.
I guess.
Is green being overused? No, I don't think so.
Not
at all. Toblerone Malone, was I able to spend time with the new Lamborghini MMI in the Revuelto? Nope, not at all. Didn't do anything. I plugged in my phone and CarPlay came up, so that's good. But no, I was driving it on the track, and I was hopping in and out of it, doing dynamic driving on the road. I didn't play the fucking radio. I didn't do anything other than change the drive modes and stuff, which you do on the steering wheel. But the things I tried to do with it were pretty straightforward and worked. So that seems good.
Sorry, Heisenberg's question looks a lot like bimobiles, so that's why I scrolled up.
Okay. A good question says, what automotive subculture would you do a mini-series about if you had a travel budget and did not have to appease the algorithm? School bus racing in Panama?
We did a video about that.
I know.
What subculture? I've seen these clips of the guys. They're in the Middle East, I believe, and they do tandem drifting, but it's two people in one car. One person drives, and the other person does various stunts off the car, kind of like sidecar racing for motorcycles. And so it's this weird
with cars.
Yeah, but he's like they're standing on the hood, and then they're hanging out the window, and then they're using their feet to hold on. And why? They're just like, I want to drift. And they go, well, I have a car. They go, I'm going with you anyway.
Yeah. Formula Hagwala. I'd always loved to do Formula Hagwala.
Yeah, that would be
awesome.
That would have been a good one for Vice because they're okay showing people getting very hurt.
Hagwala is fucking what's up, dude. I'm about that.
Other than
Christian says, thoughts on Zenith Defy Skyline for a small wrist. I've never seen one in person. So I do not know. He says, I have a $60 fake AP that looks like a disco ball steel bracelet. Well, I got news for you, Christian. I had a real AP, and it looked like a disco ball and a steel bracelet. So I've never seen that watch. I'm sorry. Darian says, Z4 M40i with stick-in options for $75K or base convertible C8 for $77K. Big question is just, do you want to drive stick or not?
Yeah. I
mean, I wouldn't want a base Corvette. I'd want a Z51.
Yep.
I'd want an upgraded, one of the upgraded levels of the interior. I mean, a base Corvette is a pretty cheapy feeling thing.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a loaded up BMW Z4 than a base Corvette. And even if I was doing track work, I wouldn't want the base Corvette for track work.
No.
I'd want Z51.
It's a great car for track stuff, but if you don't have the hardware to do that, then you're just driving around in a car that looks like a performance car. I mean, I can go fast in a straight line, but it's missing a big part. This is just something we could do maybe as a future show.
Yeah, sure. Save it for later. Yeah, man. Fucking drove the Bentley down to the Ohana Festival for Pearl Jam on Sunday. When did I go? Sunday. It's an amazing set. Bentley, I thought the Bentley would get all the love at the valet. Mm-hmm. It didn't. Actually, that's not true. It got some love, particularly when the valet guy, shout out to Matthew at the valet, he recognized me. But man, that car is ace. It's about to go to Charlie on Monday for its 3,500-mile service. Nothing is wrong, but it gets an oil change every 3,500.
Okay.
That's the service.
That's different, right?
Huh?
Oil change makes sense, but sorry, I thought you were implying that every 3,500 miles it has to go in for a service, not an oil change.
No, like a oil change,
right?
A basic oil change. Yeah. Like, dude, every one of my cars is due for like the Spyder's going to Batim in a couple of weeks for tires and fucking oil change. The Delica, I just got all those other parts. It's going to go back to West Coast Tire Pros for motor and trans mounts and tie rods. The Bentley needs its annual service. The scooter needs its annual service. I'm talking stacking these bitches up right now.
It'll be an expensive month.
It's going to be an expensive month, but everything will be serviced.
Everything
and
will work.
I will be good for another year.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. That's our show. That's what we've got today. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry it's going to be a day late for everybody, but my parents being in town took priority over podcasting yesterday. And we will be back next week with a whole bunch more Smoking Tire podcast. And make sure you check out our Spyders video, which goes up on Monday. See you later.